The door clicked shut behind her. Amara's heels sank slightly into the velvet carpet of the penthouse suite. The air inside was still, scented with leather, bourbon, and something sharp, like danger. Her trembling hands clutched the edges of the silk dress that wasn't hers. The glittering neckline slipped every time she moved, and the diamond necklace pressing into her throat felt more like a leash than a gift. She didn't belong here. Not in this tower. Not in this room. Not in this life. She had only meant to bring the tray of champagne to the top floor. That's what the hotel supervisor told her. Just knock and leave it inside, and you'll get a bonus. Room 810. Don't ask questions. But she had barely stepped inside before someone whispered, "Perfect," and closed the door behind her. She turned and froze. He was standing near the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights casting silver across his angular features. Tall, dark-haired, dressed in a crisp white shirt and loosened tie, he looked like every tabloid photo she'd secretly studied late at night. Zayan Shah, CEO of Shah Global. Billionaire. Ruthless. Untouchable. He was supposed to be at a gala. So, why was he here? His gaze lifted lazily from his cufflinks and locked onto her. For a second, neither moved. Then his brows knit. "You're not who they sent," he said coldly. Amara's mouth went dry. "I am sorry. I think there's been a mistake." He stepped forward, his frame rigid. "Who are you?" "I work at the hotel. They just asked me to walk into my suite, dressed like that?" His voice cut like a blade. She looked down, cheeks burning. The dress clung to her curves, the slit ran dangerously high, and the neckline dipped far too low. She didn't choose it. The supervisor shoved it into her hands and insisted she wear it. Said it was for presentation. But now, in this room, it felt like a trap. "I swear I didn't know this was." "Get out." She turned to run. The door didn't open. Locked. She jiggled it. Nothing. Who locked this? Her voice cracked. Zayan was already pulling out his phone. "Security. Now." "No," she rushed to him, desperate. "Please, I didn't do anything. They set me up. I swear, I didn't come here for this." He stared at her. The way her voice trembled but didn't break. The way her fists clenched, defiant even in fear. Her eyes, wide, pleading but not seductive. Not manipulative. Real. His phone hovered near his ear. And then he slowly lowered it. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara." He said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Sit." "I'd rather stand." His jaw tightened, but something flickered in his eyes. He turned away and poured a glass of scotch. The silence stretched like wire between them. Then he asked, without facing her, "How old are you?" 22. "How much did they pay you for this?" Her face flushed with insult. "Nothing. I'm not for sale." That made him turn. Her voice, though soft, held steel. Her chin lifted. The tension in the room shifted. Zayan stepped closer. Not menacing but calculating. As if trying to read a language she hadn't written. "You were brought here against your will?" "Yes." "You're saying someone tried to offer you to me, like a bribe?" Amara nodded, voice tighter. "I thought I was just delivering a drink. Then someone pushed me in and locked the door." He studied her. The way she hugged herself. The way her lip trembled when she thought he wasn't looking. But most of all, the complete absence of guile. He believed her. And that infuriated him. Because he wasn't used to believing anyone. Suddenly, a loud knock shattered the tension. "Mr. Shah, we're here to escort the girl out." Zayan's voice rang out, cold and commanding. "No." A pause. "Sir?" "She stays." Amara blinked. She turned to him, stunned. "What?" "You said you were set up," he said, eyes locked on her. "I want to know who and why." I don't know." "Then stay until you do." Her pulse thundered in her ears. "Why would you help me?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't know either. But something about her, the fire in her voice, the vulnerability in her eyes, unsettled everything cold and calculated inside him. For the first time in years, Zayan Shah didn't feel in control. You're not going to fire her? Zion didn't flinch at the biting tone of his assistant, Kieran, who stormed into his office the next morning, heels clicking, eyes narrowed. She was caught in your suite, dressed like... Kieran stopped herself, her lip curling. She's a waitress, sir. She doesn't belong here. Zion glanced up from his tablet. Neither do a lot of people who end up in powerful rooms. She's dangerous, Kieran hissed. If the press gets wind of this, they'll turn it into a scandal. She's staying. There was finality in his voice. Ice cold. The kind that shut down boardrooms. Kieran backed out, lips pursed, but her eyes burned with something else. Something sharp. Meanwhile, Amara sat alone in a glass-walled HR office, her knees drawn together, eyes fixed on the floor. The borrowed heels pinched. The silk dress clung uncomfortably beneath a company coat someone had thrown over her. She had spent the night in a guest suite. No questions asked. No explanations given. This morning, an email had summoned her to discuss an opportunity. She had laughed, bitterly, but she came anyway, because she needed the truth. A woman entered the room briskly. Clipboard. Tight smile. Corporate perfume. We've decided not to press charges, she said as if it were a gift. I didn't do anything wrong. The HR woman paused. You were found in Mr. Shah's private suite, dressed inappropriately and without clearance. I was set up. We understand that's your claim. I have proof. That stopped her. Amara reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Her fingers trembled, not from fear, but fury. She had been too stunned last night, but this morning she had checked her voice recorder. I forgot to stop it, she said. After they gave me the dress and told me to deliver the champagne, I left it on by accident. She played the recording. The room filled with muffled voices. Send her to 810. The boss will be too drunk to care. She's young. Pretty enough to impress Shah. And she won't talk. She needs the money. Just tell her it's a bonus job. Make it quick. Silence. Amara looked up, her voice low but razor-sharp. Do I still sound like a threat to your company? 15 minutes later, she was escorted, this time respectfully, upstairs. Zion stood behind his desk, jaw tense, brows furrowed. He looked like a storm bottled in a $1,000 suit. She played the recording, Kieran said, standing off to the side like a statue made of spite. It's authentic. Zion turned to Amara. His eyes locked onto hers with unnerving intensity. You kept this. I didn't know I had it. But yes. You could have sold it. I didn't. That answer seemed to unnerve him more than anything. She didn't ask for money. Not favors. Not even a job. She just stood there, chin lifted, proud even in borrowed clothes. What do you want? He asked finally. Amara hesitated. Her fingers curled at her sides. I want an apology. From your staff. From your company. And I want the names of the men who said those things. Zion stared at her. He wasn't used to demands. Especially not from women like her. But something in her steadiness, it cracked something in him. You'll have them, he said. And the apology. Kieran's mouth dropped open. Sir. Leave. Kieran stormed out. Zion walked around his desk, stopping just inches away from Amara. I underestimated you, he said. She didn't look away. A lot of people do. His gaze drifted over her face, then paused. A tiny cut near her collarbone from where the necklace had been too tight. His voice lowered. Did they hurt you? No. But they tried to own me. She took a breath. No one owns me. Something shifted in his expression. Not pity. Not admiration. Something else. He didn't recognize it. And that scared him. You're not going back to the hotel, he said. Excuse me? I'm offering you a position. Executive assistant. Temporary. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. His voice was firm. You want justice? The people who did this are well connected. If you're with me, they won't touch you again. Amara studied him. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. But something raw beneath it now. Guilt, maybe. Or respect. After a long pause, she nodded once. I'll take it. But her voice was steady when she added, But I still don't trust you. Zion didn't smile, but something in his eyes flickered with approval. Good, he said. You shouldn't. The glass walls made it impossible to hide. Amara could feel every stare, every whisper slicing through her like knives as she walked into the Shaw Global executive floor for the first time, not as a waitress, not as a victim, but as the CEO's new assistant. She kept her head high. Her charcoal blouse, neatly tucked into a pencil skirt Zion's team had sent that morning, did little to dull the discomfort sitting in her spine. The silence as she passed the assistant bullpen wasn't quiet, it was loaded. She had been there less than 5 minutes, and already the rumors were eating through the air like acid. That's her. The girl from the suite? How was she even hired? I bet she's sleeping with him. She must have dirt on someone. Amara's hand gripped her tablet tighter, knuckles whitening. She didn't look back. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. At the end of the hall, the glass doors to Zion Shaw's office slid open. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, the skyline of Karachi blazing behind him like a sea of fire and steel. The city bowed to him, its king in a silent fortress. You're on time, he said without turning. That's rare here. I was raised to value people's time, Amara replied. Zion turned slowly, his eyes landing on her like heat. And yet most people don't. He gestured for her to sit. She didn't. She stood across the desk, professional but distant. I was told to take notes for your 9 a.m. board prep, she said, pulling out her tablet. You were also told, he said slowly, that you'd be assisting me, not hiding behind screens. Amara met his gaze evenly. Respectfully, Mr. Shaw, I don't plan to make this permanent. Something flickered in his expression. Not amusement. Not offense. Curiosity. You think you're just passing through? He asked, walking around his desk, closing the distance. This isn't a side street, Miss Amara. It's a war zone. No one leaves without blood on their hands. I've bled enough already, she said softly. And I've learned how to fight. He stopped, just inches from her. There was a pause, a wait between them. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't hostile. It was something else. Good, he said after a moment. Because the people who sent you into that room aren't done yet. Her breath caught. What do you mean? I mean, he said, voice low, this wasn't just some twisted prank. Someone wanted to damage me. Using you. She stiffened. Then let me help expose them. You sure you're ready for that? He asked, his voice suddenly dark. This world isn't kind to the honest. I'm not here to be kind, she said. I'm here to burn the rot out. For the first time, a faint smile ghosted across his lips. Not warm, but real. Then came the knock. Kieran. Amara stepped back, instinctively. Kieran swept in, clipboard in hand, but her eyes locked onto Amara like a vulture spotting a wound. Your 9 o'clock with the board is confirmed, sir. And a reminder, the investors' dinner is tonight. Should I confirm a +1? Zion didn't answer immediately. His eyes lingered on Amara, then flicked back to Kieran. Yes, he said at last. Put Amara down. Kieran froze. I'm sorry? She's attending as my assistant. Kieran's smile was tight. Of course. But her eyes said war. She left without another word. Amara exhaled. That was a declaration. Zion shrugged. This company is full of predators. They respond to threats, not silence. She met his eyes. What happens when you stop being the threat? He didn't answer. Later that night, the ballroom was flooded with light, glitter, and quiet envy. Crystals hung like starlight, wine flowed like rivers, and billionaires leaned in to whisper in corners lined with secrets. Amara walked behind Zion, head high, her black gown modest but elegant. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Every eye in the room was already watching her like a storm they couldn't predict. Smile, Zion murmured. They hate it when you look fearless. I'm not smiling for them. His mouth curved faintly. Good. They were halfway across the floor when Zion froze mid-step. His jaw tensed, eyes narrowing. Amara followed his gaze. A man, mid-40s, confident smirk, Armani suit, raised a champagne glass toward Zion and mouthed, "Still like your gifts?" Zion didn't move, but Amara saw it. The flicker of rage beneath that billionaire calm. "That's him," she whispered. He nodded once. "One of them." Her throat tightened. "What do we do?" she asked. Zion looked at her, truly looked, and said softly, "We don't play defense." Then he began walking again, straight toward the man. "Still like your gifts?" The words weren't loud, but they were meant to cut. Zion's step slowed, heels echoing against the polished marble of the ballroom as his eyes locked on the man smirking at him across the champagne-slicked floor. He was older, cocky, too sure of himself. Kamal Malik, the smug CEO of a rival conglomerate and one of the dirtiest players in the corporate underworld. Amara felt it, the tension that surged through Zion like electricity. His jaw clenched, his hand twitching at his side as though holding back more than just words. She stepped closer, her voice low. "Are you going to hit him?" "I want to," Zion muttered. "But tonight, I'm not here to bleed. I'm here to let him choke." He adjusted his cufflinks, then turned toward Kamal with the kind of smile that made men fear lawsuits more than bullets. "Kamal," Zion said coolly, extending a hand. "Always a pleasure to see someone who peaked 10 years ago." Kamal chuckled, completely unfazed. "Oh, come now. No need for claws, Shah. I was just admiring your taste." His eyes flicked to Amara, and she saw it, the cruel flicker of recognition. He knew. Amara's blood ran cold. But she didn't flinch. She met Kamal's gaze dead-on, chin high, unafraid. That seemed to catch him off guard. "She has a name," Zion said flatly, voice like ice. "And a position at my company you couldn't buy your way into if you sold every lie you've ever told." Kamal's smirk twitched. "You're awfully protective, Zion. That's not like you." "You wouldn't know what it's like to value someone," Zion said. "You only know how to use them." The air snapped. Heads turned. The conversation had drawn attention now. Investors, executives, sharks sensing blood in the water. Kamal's eyes narrowed. "Careful. Public tantrums don't suit you." "This isn't a tantrum," Zion said. "This is a warning. Stay away from my people. Especially her." Then, without another word, Zion took Amara's hand, not to claim her, but to guide her away. They exited the ballroom in silence, but their breathing was uneven. Both knew something had just shifted. In the corridor outside the ballroom, Zion let go of her hand. "I shouldn't have done that," he muttered. "I made it worse." Amara turned to face him. "You didn't. You exposed him." He looked at her, frustrated. "Not enough. He'll hide behind lawyers and silence." "Then let me help," she said quietly. "Let me tell the board what I heard. What he did." Zion hesitated. "They won't believe you. Not without proof." "Then I'll get it," Amara said. Zion's eyes darkened. "You'd go back into that circle just to bring him down?" She swallowed, the lump in her throat nearly painful. "It's not just about me anymore." For a long moment, Zion just looked at her, this girl who had stumbled into his world by accident, but stood in it like it had always belonged to her. Her courage burned hotter than his anger. "You're not what I expected," he murmured. She almost smiled. "Neither are you." The next morning, Amara slipped quietly into the main elevator at Shaw Global with a USB drive in her coat pocket. Her heart pounded. She'd spent the night retrieving surveillance audio from the hotel's underground employee chat groups, where two of Kamal's fixers had bragged about planting bait for Zion. It wasn't just a scandal. It was a setup. And it wasn't the first time. As the elevator rose, she watched her reflection in the steel doors. She looked composed, but her fingers trembled just enough to remind her she wasn't invincible. The doors opened to the executive floor, and the silence hit like a wave. Zion's office was empty. The lights were off. "Where is he?" she asked a nearby staffer. The girl hesitated. "He left 20 minutes ago with Kieran." Amara's stomach dropped. "Where?" "I think the Malik Tower. Kamal's building." Across town, in Kamal Malik's top-floor lounge, Zion leaned against a glass balcony rail, overlooking the city. Kamal poured 2 drinks. You came to threaten me? He asked lazily. No, Zion said. I came to give you a chance. A chance?
To confess.
Apologize.
Step down.
Because if you don't, he turned, eyes hard. You'll be unrecognizable by next quarter. Kamal laughed. You brought the wrong weapon for this war. He handed a drink to Kieran, who stood beside him, silent. Zion's eyes narrowed. You shouldn't be here, Kieran. I warned you she'd destroy you, she said softly. And now you're doing it yourself. Realization dawned. Zion's voice dropped. You weren't on it. Kamal smirked. Everyone wants something, Shah. Your assistant just wanted to be more than a background voice. Zion took a slow breath. The betrayal cut deeper than expected. He turned to leave. But his phone buzzed. New message from Amara. I have the proof. Come back.
Now.
The train station reeked of old rain, exhaust, and desperation. Amara stood on the crowded platform with nothing but a canvas bag, a burner phone, and a name she hadn't spoken in 5 years. The city's noise clawed at her, but her heartbeat was louder.
Run. Hide. Disappear.
It was all she had done after her father's death. After the scandal. After her mother vanished. She had buried her name, her village, her shame, just to survive. But now, someone had dug it all up. She clenched the burner phone tighter. No texts. No calls. No Zion. She'd blocked his number before he could find her. Not because she didn't want him to. Because she knew he would. And he couldn't afford to. Not now. Not with Kamal circling. Not with his empire bleeding. A gust of wind rushed through the platform as the train screeched in. She didn't move. Across the city, Zion Shah stood in the center of his penthouse living room, the silence thunderous. Her absence had stripped the place of warmth. Not that it had ever been warm, but since she'd walked in, uninvited and defiant, something had changed. Now the walls echoed. He stared at his phone. The screen was blank. Still no word. Still no trace. He'd mobilized his private security. He'd pulled CCTV from every train, bus, and hotel in the city. Nothing. Zion was a man who never begged. But right now, he would have traded every share in Shaw Global just to hear her voice. Kieran's betrayal, Kamal's manipulation, they meant nothing compared to this sudden emptiness clawing at his chest. And it wasn't just loss. It was fear. Not for his reputation. For her. She was alone. And Kamal had already made her a target. He picked up his phone and called his security chief. Start tracking anyone searching for the name Amara Jalil. Cross-reference school records. Property records. Villages outside the city. She's running, but she's not hiding from me. He hung up before the man could respond. Amara didn't board the train. She slipped into a rickshaw instead, gave the driver an old village name, and sat in silence as the city shrank behind her. Her mind wandered to Zion, his voice when he'd said, "You already are my weakness." She had felt something then. Something terrifying. Something she hadn't allowed herself to feel since her world shattered. But love? Love wasn't for girls like her. Not when the people who had destroyed her family still ruled the world in silk suits. She opened the small, rusted locket in her palm. Inside, a photo. A child. A name written in her mother's handwriting. Her brother. She had one reason to return to the past. And this time, she wasn't coming back empty-handed. The next morning, Zion burst into the security command center of Shaw Global. His chief nodded grimly. We found something. She used her old name, Amara Jalil, 5 years ago when applying for a university scholarship. Zion leaned forward. And she listed a home address in a rural area near Narwala. Her father's name was Talib Jalil. Zion froze. That name. It was buried in business history. Talib Jalil, once a renowned agritech developer, accused of fraud, embezzlement, and sabotage, disappeared. Labeled a traitor. He was blacklisted by every major company, including Shaw Global. Zion's voice dropped to a whisper. That was her father? The chief nodded. Zion staggered back a step. He remembered now. Talib had submitted a breakthrough design years ago. It was stolen, then buried. Not by him, but by the very man who now tried to destroy Zion, Kamal Malik. That wasn't just a setup. It was a vendetta. A long, quiet war that had started with a ruined family and a girl who had been forced to erase herself to survive. Amara arrived at the village just before sundown. Dust curled in the air. Children ran barefoot past crumbling brick homes. The shopkeeper still recognized her face. "You're back," the old man whispered. "After everything?" "I'm not here to mourn," she said. "I'm here to uncover the truth." She walked the narrow paths until she reached the ruins of her old home. There, half buried in the dirt, she found the rusted metal box her father once hid beneath the floor. Inside, notebooks, sketches, blueprints, and letters. Letters addressed to Shaw Global. Letters warning of stolen patents. Letters that were never answered. Her hands trembled. They never stood a chance. That night, under the dim bulb of a village room, she scanned the documents into her burner laptop. Her eyes burned, but her will didn't waver. Kamal had tried to bury her family. Now, she had the evidence to bury him. Back in the city, Zion stood in his office, Amara's name echoing in his thoughts like a drumbeat. She wasn't just a woman who survived. She was a woman born from injustice. And he'd let her walk away. Until now. He picked up his phone and barked into the receiver. "Get my jet ready. Narwala. Tonight."